bienvenue à Pack to Putt, a French podcast about French rugby, normally in French. But for this episode, the American episode, things are a bit different. I'm going to have the chance to talk rugby with a few American players in English. Et oui, vous avez bien compris, cet épisode est en anglais. Pourquoi ? Car j'ai eu l'opportunité d'interviewer quelques Eagles qui sont passés par la France. Donc je voulais en profiter. Donc si c'est un peu vite, pas de problème. Normalement sur votre plateforme de podcast, vous pouvez ajuster un peu la vitesse. D'ailleurs, personnellement, j'écoute tous mes podcasts préférés à vitesse 1,25. Mais si cela est un peu vite pour vous, il n'y a pas de problème. Vous pouvez toujours ralentir un petit peu. Donc nous allons parler avec deux Américains. On va commencer avec Joe Taufete'e, qui joue talonneur, qui a joué à Lyon, par exemple, et maintenant il est à Leicester Tigers. Donc c'est quelqu'un qu'on va voir forcément pendant le European Championship Cup. Et donc, en plus, il y a Michael Baska qui joue à Rouen, dans le Pro D2. Il est là pour représenter le rugby américain, mais aussi le rugby normand, pour mon cher ami Théo. Voilà, donc j'espère que vous aimez bien cet épisode. Et sinon, ne vous inquiétez pas, le prochain épisode, retour en français, vous inquiétez pas. Ok, allez, à tout de suite avec Joe Taufete'e. So for my first podcast in English, I'm very excited to have with me a U.S. Eagle. It's Joe Taufete'e. Hi, Joe. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming. It's really cool to get to meet you. Listen, I started playing rugby when I was like 32. I came over to France at 25. I played a couple of years of American football. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can play this whole new sport. And I discovered it at 32. When did you discover rugby?
Yeah, I'm the same. I kind of discovered it late. So I played U19s in Belmont Shore, so in Long Beach. And that was when I first pretty much played rugby. And it was under my girlfriend then, but now wife. Her family's heavily involved in the youth program. So in order for me to impress the family, I kind of wanted to join the rugby team. So that way at family conversations, they would talk about me a little bit.
You were already playing football at a pretty high level, though, right?
So, yeah, I was on track for a scholarship at Utah State. And from then, I tore my ACL. And so I kind of wasn't a big student. You know, I wasn't a student athlete at the time. So I, stopped playing rugby or stopped playing football, American football, and then went on to try rugby out because obviously that was the next thing for me in terms of what I wanted to do physically.
Yeah. So I think you ended up impressing the family, right?
Yeah. So, obviously now it's been good for me in my relationship with the wife and obviously Sunday lunches with the family.
Well, it's pretty wild that you had an injury that, kind of sidelined your career as American football, but you're playing at the highest level in rugby. That's pretty strange.
Yeah, it was kind of weird back then because this was around 2011 when I tore my ACL. So back then, that was when Adrian Peterson made a miraculous recovery from his ACL. And here I was thinking, I'm not in that type of environment. I'm not a professional athlete at that time, and no, there's no way that I would be able to come back stronger or faster or anything like that. So,
right.
Yeah.
So what I know for me, like I was playing O-line, D-line, and then I finally started playing rugby and I could pick up the ball and run with it. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. What about for you? What was the thing you liked the most about the sport?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, being able to play, offense and defense at the same time was kind of like what drew me as well. Because obviously, as a lineman, you want to be active with the ball. You want the ball in your hands, but obviously, there's a different role for everyone in football. So, I mean, that was probably my favorite part is being able to carry and tackle at the same time.
You're a California guy. I'm from the East Coast. Is rugby kind of more developed out in the West Coast?
I would say it was. It is because, California has, obviously Cal Berkeley is a big school, St. Mary's, big collegiate rugby school. So even in club level as well, like there's, San Francisco Golden Gate who are, known around the country, and then obviously Belmont Shore who are almost well known as well. So from that, kind of community, it's almost more common than you would to play rugby in the off season when football is not in season.
Right. So it's kind of like something, like an alternative to stay in shape for American football in a way for some people.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, what better sport to do it with than rugby,
Yeah, no joke. You run a lot more anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I saw that you went to New Zealand when you were pretty young, and the idea, I guess, was to kind of get more into rugby. That's a pretty big commitment to the sport at that time. Did you already have some links with New Zealand?
Yeah, so the club that I was at in Long Beach, Belmont Shore, our president is Doug Pye, and he's from New Zealand, and he's obviously got ties with his hometown, and that was Otahanga, so it was like a countryside in Waikato. It wasn't like Auckland or like and somewhere really well known like Wellington or anything like that for rugby. But that lucky for them, that was that was my opportunity to kind of experience rugby from the top rugby players in the world.
Yeah, no joke. What was the adaptation like? At least the language is the same, but New Zealand, that must be pretty different from California.
Yeah, it is. I mean, lucky because I come from Polynesian heritage, so New Zealand has got tons of Polynesians all around, New Zealand. So in a sense, the cultural, differences weren't too far off. But adjusting rugby wise, it was just like everything opened up, for me in terms of the game. I could see the game a little bit differently from their eyes, and that was probably the best thing that rugby there did for me.
Yeah, and then you got selected by the USA Eagles, and you went straight to a World Cup. That's a pretty like quick path.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I would solely like give that to the experience that I have like gained from being in New Zealand.
Right.
Because obviously when I came back, I was normally front row.
Right.
I started off playing 8-man, then front row, but then when I went to New Zealand, I came back, I was playing more 8-man because I had the skill level and I could keep up with the pace. It was a lot different from club level in New Zealand compared to it would be in the States. And so obviously did really well throughout the club level. And Mike Tolkien at the time, the head coach, spotted me and said, we'll have you as a day camper for a couple of days, see how you go. And pretty much just like, did really well. And then he called me back for the PNC, so the Pacific Nations Cup, to go play the, Samoa, Japan, and Tonga and all them in Fiji. But I couldn't go at that time, which, kind of sucked because that was an opportunity for me to finally represent the U.S. But yeah, I think the experience that I gained from New Zealand really helped me kind of excel in that process.
Obviously, you were doing something right when you were in the World Cup because you end up spending 4 years in England. So somebody saw you there. Could you just share like a memory from your World Cup experience?
Yeah, it was just being in like a real professional environment because honestly, that was the first time being in a professional environment because you don't have that in the US. So coming from, club levels straight to international, you can see the professionalism from the players to the coaching staff to how they take care of their body. And I think just being able to get on the field with them and put on the USA jersey, that was probably one of the most memorable times, playing in front of 50,000 compared to what, odd 100, 200 at the club level.
Right.
So I'll never forget that.
Yeah, we had an interview with Richard Tardis, who's a French guy who went to play for the USA Eagles back in the 80s and 90s. And he talks about playing in the University of Georgia, where his parents didn't know like what it was like to play American football, at college level. And he was just like, "Mom, Dad, there's like 80,000 people in the stands." They're like, "No." So yeah, I understand this kind of in the opposite way, having all these fans, particularly in England. So then you ended up staying in Worcester, the Warriors, for about 4 years. I don't really know that team or that town for that matter. Could you tell us a little bit about that? What was life like there?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, I spent the first year without my wife, and she was pregnant because obviously I was originally there for a medical joker. And from the medical joker, that was when, me and my wife were kind of like on this path on see whose career would take off. She was obviously doing well with her job. And then obviously with the 6 months that I was there, I excelled and I, showed coaches, what I was capable of doing. And they offered me a year and then it just kept building on from there. So, I mean, living in Worcester was good, but it was hard for me the first year because obviously I'd come from LA straight into Worcester, which is like a countryside club. I mean, I kind of experienced it with New Zealand, but it still wasn't the same because the season's here a whole year long.
Yeah.
Compared to club rugby, it's a couple months or so. But so I had to live out like half an hour, which is in Cheltenham. So it was a little bit more countryside / cities. But from there, I mean, it was good experience to finally have a chance in the Premiership.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to watch a soccer match?
No, I still haven't
Oh,
gotten
yeah.
to. Hopefully this time around when I'm here now, I will.
Yeah. So the next year World Cup, you're back at it, and this is kind of when you came onto my radar. We started our podcast about 4 years ago for the World Cup, and obviously, as we're a French podcast doing about French rugby, we watched that France USA game, which was a heck of a game. In fact, it was 12-9 when you were subbed off at like 65 minutes. So you're really in it. What was kind of happening in your head? Were you thinking, hey, this is possible? You might just beat the French team?
Yeah, I mean, we always knew like that we're going to be a physical team because just the typical French style of rugby. They want to be real physical and real dominant. And I think that was what we could almost try to match. That was where we could match. But obviously, they were more endurance. Because they're in professional rugby year round, as in some of the players in the U.S. were only getting a couple of months at their clubs and stuff. But I think that was the one match that I felt like, I really wanted it because, physicality, I'm having a tongue twister. Physically, we wanted to compare to such a, prestigious country when it comes to that kind of level. So, I mean,
yeah, I remember there was a great battle between you and Camille Chat as well. That seemed like both of you guys were having really, really great matches. And I said it in that episode. I said, "Oh, I bet you some top 14 team is taking a look at you right there and is gonna pick you up." And that's exactly what happened.
that's also what's in my mind as well, because obviously France is somewhere I'd always wanted to be, because I know that the physical battle is what they're built off of, and the passion that they have for being physical, being dominant when it comes to something they love, is what I felt like I could I wanted to be a part of.
Yeah.
And so I knew that if it came to the French game, I knew I had to put out even more than I normally would.
Well, you obviously made it a great show. How did you choose Lyon?
So with Leon, I, you know, when it, let me think about this question. How did it come with Leon? I mean, obviously, I had some South of France offers at the time as
Hmm.
well, but I felt like because Leon were doing so well, and coming from Worcester, we were battling at the bottom. Um, I wanted to be a part of something that was building towards something great, and that's where I found that I can find my place in Leon, where I can push my level of rugby to another level. Being under Pierre Mignon and being alongside Mathieu Bastareaud, being alongside Josh Tuisova, and all those kind of high level players around the world that are known around the world.
Yeah. Plus, I lived in Lyon for a while. It's a really great town. It's not too big. It's not too small. It's pretty close to the mountains, pretty close to the sea. Great place to live.
Yeah, I mean that's perfect for me because it wasn't too far of a feeling away from LA. You kind of get that feel of a city, but you can also be 10 minutes and be completely out of that kind of noise. So
Yeah.
it's a beautiful city. I love Lyon.
Yeah. Did you try all the food, because it's really well known? I remember when I moved to Lyon, I spoke French pretty well, but I looked at the menu. I was like, what is all this stuff? I don't know anything on
Yeah.
the traditional like Lyonnais restaurant. I didn't know what any of that was.
Yeah, with the stuff in like Leon, I didn't really, like escargot. I wasn't a big fan of or anything like that, but I just fell in love with the pastries, the quality of, the pain chocolat and
Oh
the
yeah.
croissants and stuff like that is it's what I fell in love with the bakery.
Yeah, they have a little thing called a brioche aux pralines, the little red brioche with like a kind of
Yeah,
candied. I don't know what it is, almonds or peanuts or something. Oh, that's a fantastic one.
yeah,
Well, we could
no.
spend all day talking about Lyonnais food.
Yeah.
But so you're there. I mean, I have my eye out for you because I'm excited to have to see another American here in the top 14. How does the beginning of that season go for you?
For the first season, because it was COVID at the time as well, it was a real tough one because you're transitioning into a new country, different language, and obviously you have these restrictions held on you. So when it came to wanting to take in a lot of the French culture, it was difficult. You couldn't get out and have meet friends and meet people who could speak a little English, and then you would try to speak a little bit of French. I think that was the biggest thing that really hindered my time there, because that first season was real difficult. Um, but overall, I mean, I think I knew that the rugby was going to be tough, and the level of passion was going to be there, and that's what I latched onto during the COVID season.
You mentioned Mathieu Bastareaud, who I had the pleasure of interviewing, and I just wanted to say what a sweet guy. And I was wondering, did you have a chance to have form a relationship with him? And he seems to me like a great leader and somebody who's always looking out for you. And is that the kind of guy that you met?
Yeah, he's exactly that. I mean, he played with Samu Manoa, so that was at Toulon for a little bit, and they got on really well. And so with Samu Manoa, he was kind of like my big uncle, and he would always look after me. So it was kind of like that shared responsibility when I came to Mathieu Bastareaud. He's real, like, looks after the boys, and real like, about family and trying to build relationships with people. And yeah, he's been real good, and I, you know, had a good friendship with him when I was there.
Yeah. And speaking of family, were you with your family as well here in Lyon, or were they back home?
No, they came with, so ever since like my second year in Worcester in England, they've always been with me.
Oh,
So
great.
coming into France, they were with us.
So how did that adaptation go to France? So you get here, the food's good, and all that, but then actually you're stuck in your room because of COVID. So did you want to stay a little bit longer in the top 14, or were you kind of like, well, it's time to go back to England or go back home?
Yeah, I mean, because of the first year that I had, it was kind of difficult to be away from family, and so towards this end of the second year at the top 14, it was my family and the distant family were missing each other a lot, and obviously with my mom, I haven't seen my mom in a year or 2 years by then, and it was just heavy on my heart. So it was hard for me to focus on rugby and then come back home, and that was pretty much why I wanted to go back home after the second year, was because family, and through the COVID times, it was always cherish the moments that you have with your family members.
So I was going to ask why the Guiltinis of LA, but that was home for you, so that made sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was an easy transition because everybody was home, and point of me going home was to be home. But obviously, with the team in LA, it made it even better.
I don't really know the MLR all that well, but I love following those guys on Instagram. They seem like they're just having fun all the time. Is that the case? It seems like a party team, but maybe that's just the image that they project. What was your experience playing with them?
Yeah, it was good. I mean, there's definitely, a good fun side to Guiltinis, but there's also a side where we obviously have to put in the work to have that fun afterwards. But yeah, it was a good experience. The the team, and obviously living next to the beach was like uncomparable to any other team that were around the MLR.
Yeah, great. So at this point, you played for the Premiership in England. You played for Top 14, and now the MLR. What's it like, the MLR? I mean, I'm a bit distant from it being here in France, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see all these good teams, all these Americans getting the chance to play professionally, being paid to play. I don't know. So what's the level like? Are there fans? Is it a good experience? What's your kind of take on the MLR?
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of like growing. Obviously there's a lot of growing room when it comes to the game. But it helps when you have a lot of experienced guys who are coming overseas, like a Matt Giddo, a Billy Meeks, or having those guys come over. And when Pasta was in New York, having that, the guys that come into the team who are college level players, to kind of get that experience from those guys, it helps the game and it helps the team. And I think that's what I found I was in the middle of, was, there were still young players still trying to learn the game and still kind of trying to understand what it takes to be a full-time professional. But yeah, I think it's big on having guys like that come over.
Yeah, by playing with the best, it obviously is going to make Americans improve as well.
Exactly.
So now you're back in England, this time with the Leicester Tigers. So are you happy to be back in England?
Yeah, I'm actually here because, a coach like Steve Borthwick, who's come in out of nowhere and turned around the program, and just hearing about his coaching style and how he coaches, it really drawn me to come back into the Premiership.
Yeah. Okay. So that was your kind of final deciding factor, was following the coach.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly that.
Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot to like in this team. They just won the Premiership last year. It's an old team, 140 years old. It's one of the key European teams. They're always up there within the European Championship as well. So there's a lot to like. I was looking, man, your backs. It's pretty incredible. You got Ben Youngs, Harry Potter, Anthony Watson, Freddie Stewart. This is basically like the England national team, and then you add Pollard, who's the South African 10 on top of that. That's a pretty amazing squad you got.
Yeah, it's funny because Polo just flew in yesterday, and I met a couple of the boys, and so it's good to kind of finally getting all the pieces together and get the season going, which is pretty cool. I think the biggest thing that I've noticed here is how hard the forwards work compared to the backs. I mean, obviously the backs have their own set of, skills that they have to work on, but the way that the Steve Bothwick has the boys working in the forward pack is to keep up with the game and make the game easy. So when it comes to training weeks, that we're gonna go through the abyss.
Right, and you have in your position you have also Julian Montoya, who's about 78 caps from Argentina, and it's kind of like Toulouse in the way we have two internationals playing in Toulouse, for the same position. Is it something? Does that mean you're going to be sharing the role, or does that mean you're going to be playing a bit of prop as well?
I think when it comes to playing prop, I won't be looking to play prop anymore. I mean, I'm a hooker. I'm comfortable playing hooker. Obviously, at the time at Leon, we were going through some, internationals that are either away or some tight head props that were injured. And I spoke to the scrum coach at Leon and asked if I could, try to get some reps to see if I could help in that area because, we were struggling with numbers at the time. But yeah, I mean, Julian Montoya, and we also have Nick Dolly, who's capped for England as well. So there's ultimately three international hookers here. But when the season comes, I think this team, even from last season, they're good on rotation. They're good on making sure the guys are fit and almost fresh for when the game weeks are coming.
Yeah, and as you said, it's a really long season as well,
Exactly. Yeah.
that's really important. I would like to talk a little bit about the USA Eagles. We have an upcoming World Cup, and I believe we still have a chance to get in. I think we have a final game to play in November. Is that right?
Yeah, we got a final tournament, so we've got to beat three teams in order for us to qualify.
Right. And I don't know, I have the feeling it's not that the US is like regressing, but it seems like the other South American teams like Chile and Uruguay are just getting really, really getting better. Does that seem, right to you?
Yeah, I mean, these guys in South America have a professional, almost like a professional, a semi or professional level of rugby. And like the guys in Chile as well, there's probably 15 of them who play together year round and these guys build a lot of chemistry. And that's something that USA don't have is that we've got guys in Europe, we've got guys in MLR, we've got guys in New Zealand. So the time that we have is short and we're trying to crunch as much time and as crunch almost a couple weeks into 1 week. So I think coming up to the tournament in Dubai, we're looking to try to get boys together a little bit earlier. That way we can start building more chemistry.
Yeah, it seems like Argentina would be a good example to follow because they have a lot of guys who play internationally as well, but they're really doing well this year as
Yeah.
well. Will you be playing in that one in Dubai?
Yeah, I'm looking to. I mean, I'm hoping that we can get a release from Leicester, obviously in the Reg 9 thing. So yeah, we'll kind of see. I still haven't had the conversation with Steve Borthwick yet, but that's looking to, obviously he pushes the international values and to play for your country and have pride in playing for your country. So I wouldn't be surprised if he told me that he'd be okay.
Okay, great. Yeah, maybe you had a chance to score another try. You're the try leader for your position. That's pretty wild. What explains your? It's not the nose for the end zone, but your nose for scoring tries.
Yeah, I mean, huge. Like it's hugely based on our forward pack. I mean, if you look at it, if it wasn't set up for the mauls, there's majority of them are coming from mauls, and that's all on a set piece. So the growth of our set piece is huge. So when it comes to mauling or scrumming, that's what we focus on. And I've just been fortunate to be in the back of those mauls at times.
So just to wrap up, a couple rapid fire questions for you. So during your time in France, what was your favorite French food?
It'd be got to go back to the pastry, just the level of pastry, like the quality of pastries that are there.
I had a friend who came to visit me. He's this big, tall guy. He's about two meters tall, about 6'7". And I was like, "How was your day in Paris?" I had to work that day, and he comes like, "Man, I ate this, I ate that." And all he did was just eat pastries all day long.
Yeah, because the quality in France, like, or it's just in Europe in general, just on the butter, the bread, compared to the US, is just, over the moon. Like,
So you're here long enough to pick up a little bit the language. Do you have a favorite French word?
it probably wouldn't be good ones, but it'd be all the bad ones, but 'cause the ones that you subconsciously like merde or like putain but
Other than Lyon, what was your favorite stadium in France to play in?
it would be Racing, right? The one in the
Nanterre.
dome.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing.
That's pretty new. Yeah, it's pretty nice place. What about you're here with your wife, your family? Did you have like a little favorite French town that you went to holidays on?
We went to Chamonix a lot, especially in the winter. Winter come around, you got to go see the snow in the mountains, and that was our favorite spot.
Okay. What about the one place that you didn't get a chance to go to but you would like to?
Nice. Didn't get to Nice, and as a family, not to Nice, and we didn't get to go there. That was one place we'd like to go in the summer, but we didn't get to.
Yeah, Nice is great. Who's going to win the top 14?
I'm pushing for Lyon. I wanted to come out on top because I know a lot of the boys there still, and you got a soft spot for the boys that you've played with.
Yeah, sure. And last question: when are you going to have your own podcast?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think I have the energy to do so.
Well, anyway, if you need some help with that, you just give me a call. Look, Joe, it's really been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks so much for coming on to Pack the Putt. It's been a real pleasure, and I wish you the best for the upcoming season.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very much, brother.
Donc, grand merci à Joe et aussi à Mathieu Bastareaud qui nous a mis en contact. Je pense que pas sûr pour vous, mais j'étais très content de le voir de retour sur le terrain. Mathieu Bastareaud ce week-end, donc ça nous fait plaisir. Merci encore à toi pour cette mise en contact. Là, on va parler avec Michael Baska, qui est un demi de mêlée à Rouen. Donc, on va parler un peu de rugby normand pour mon ami Théo, mais aussi de son passage chez les Eagles à 27 ans quand même pour son premier cap. Donc, on va dire, c'est une histoire, un chemin vers le rugby un peu différent que des autres. Bonne écoute. Okay, I'm very happy to be here with my second American Eagle of the episode. I'm speaking right now with Michael Baska, who's a scrum half, our first number 9. Michael has played the MLR with New Orleans Gold as well as the Utah Warriors, but now he's playing in France in the Pro D2 with the Rouen Rugby Club. Michael, thanks a lot for coming on the show.
I appreciate you having me.
Cool. So we're going to talk rugby for a minute, but first tell us a little bit about your kind of adaptation to life here in France. How is life in Rouen?
Yeah, life in Rouen is really good. I've had a little bit of time here in France before I got to Rouen. So I speak a little bit of French, so adapting was quite easy. But it's a great town, great team. Everyone's very lovely, very nice. So it's been a smooth transition for me. Last season as a medical joker, and this season as my first full season here in Pro D2 in France.
Right. So you came, I think was it April last year, sometime around there? Or April this year, last season, I will say.
Yeah, I came on a 2-week trial in February for actually this season. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, I signed as a medical joker for last season and for this full season. So,
okay.
Yeah, it was a good 2 weeks that turned into a little bit of a year and a half, and I'll hopefully be longer than that.
Okay, so they like what they saw.
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, it's been working out so far. So
well, good. So you had, so you got to go to the I guess we'll call it the preseason camp, and you said it was down south, and so it was kind of cool because you had a little bit of experience with the team already. You weren't just showing up fresh straight into camp. You already kind of knew the guys a little bit. Tell me a little bit about what preseason camp was like.
Yeah, so I spent the entire summer with the USA team actually, so I missed quite a bit of preseason. And as soon as I got back from playing with the US team, I got straight into our preseason stage, our preseason camps. We went down to Siston, the southwest coast of France, and it was great. We had We had a great camp. There was 3 rugby fields where we were. We weren't too far from the beach. We had a nice lake right behind our houses that we were staying in. So it was a great first week to get back integrated with the team and, be out of Rouen and everyone get a little bit of fresh air, sunshine, some southern France weather. So it was good.
Well, yeah, sunshine's important. It's true that Normandy doesn't always get the most sunshine, but the south of France was pretty nice and hot this summer. Yeah, we're going to come back to you playing because I believe you played against England and Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah, I played against England, Ireland, and New Zealand, and I've been a part of the USA team for all the Rugby World Cup qualifiers. I didn't get to play those matches, but I've been a part of the squad.
Okay, great. Well, I think it'd be interesting to find out, well, how did you get to this sport? Because I know like a lot of Americans maybe wasn't I don't know. I'm going to ask you, was it your first sport or did you play like American football like a lot of other guys?
Yeah, I played American football, basketball growing up, and I had shifted out of basketball around 16, and one of the American football coaches was actually ex-Eagle and rugby coach and told me to come out and try it. I was pretty hesitant. I didn't go to the first practice, and they actually called my parents' house phone, and my parents were like, "Oh, I told them you go out. You can't not keep your word." So my parents were like, "You're gonna go out to the next practice." And from there on, it was pretty much smooth sailing. I really loved the culture. It was so different from American football. It wasn't so much do as I say, do what I do. It was kind of you have a lot of free range to do what you want to do and play how you want to play and just be more reactive rather than so much regimented. But yeah, I'm sure like yourself, I played a bit of American football before I transitioned into rugby.
Yeah, so I'm hearing what the thing you liked about rugby was kind of maybe the creativity, the space that it gave you to be creative on the field.
Yeah, 100%. As you know, being an American and shifting into rugby, at first you have no idea what's going on.
None.
You're so lost.
You're like, can I do this? Can I touch the ball now?
Yeah. I keep to play offense and defense, but yeah, it was good. I liked that aspect, offense and defense, that everybody got to touch the ball. It wasn't just 1 or 2 players kind of get to do this. It was everybody gets a spot on the team, whatever shape, size you are, big, small, skinny, big. Everybody has similar roles, and we all have a part to play. So that's what I really liked about it, other than American football, where it's very regimented. You're this body type, you play this position, maybe you touch the ball, maybe you don't.
Yeah, well, any size, but fast always does help on the rugby pitch, that's for sure. So you kind of you transferred into rugby in high school, and so you decided when you went to university you wanted to play university rugby as well?
Yeah, I had a decision. I could either play college football or rugby in college. So I chose rugby. And I went to Arkansas State for 3 years, and I went to Lindenwood for 2 years, which they were both really good. We won a couple national championships at both schools, and I really enjoyed my time. And then professional rugby wasn't a thing in America, and it really wasn't on my mind. I was just going to school and figured I would play rugby for fun after and get a job. And the MLR kind of formed at the end of my college career, and that's when I really thought, okay, I could really make this happen. This could be how I make a living. And yeah, very lucky for me, it all worked out.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because you're kind of at a generation where it's the first generation who actually says, "Hey, wait a minute, and I can make I could have a living, I make a living out of this in the U.S." So you were saying like coming out of college, well, MLR doesn't really exist. So what did you do at that transition point? Did you go find a 9-to-5, or were you able to land a gig, land a spot on the team?
Literally, as soon as I graduated was the first year the MLR started. So I graduated on December 17th, and I was in New Orleans on December 18th, and we went straight into training for preseason. It was pretty back to back. So like I said, I was very, very lucky with one of the first real established professional leagues in America started the day after I graduated from college. So I've been lucky enough to hold off on the 9-to-5 for now, but as a rugby player, you always got to look ahead. So I'm starting to look ahead now as I get a bit older.
Yeah.
See what that transition is going to be like.
Yeah, the famous reconversion, as they say in French. That's pretty cool. So it seems like it was meant to be, the whole rugby thing. So that's really cool. Tell me what also was meant to be is you being on the Eagles as well, I guess. Tell me how you got your start there.
Yeah, so when I made my transitions from New Orleans to Utah, the head coach of the Utah team had actually, at first he was assistant, and then he transitioned to head coach. It was Sean Pittman, and he was the forwards coach for the Eagles, and Sean Davies was the backs coach, and he had just retired from professional rugby, and he was the old scrum half for the USA Eagles. So, I played a pretty good season the year of COVID, and then 2021 I had a very good season. We went to the semifinals, and I got picked up by the Eagles there, and got 3 caps, and that kind of gave me the platform to come over here to France. So yeah, it was having very good coaching, and then being a part of the Eagles, as well as just working hard and performing when I needed to perform.
Yeah, as we said earlier, those are 3 pretty big caps. I mean, England, Ireland, and New Zealand. That's got to be pretty rough on the shoulders, I guess, when you're kind of getting off out of the game there. Can you share a memory with us of one of these 3 matches?
Yeah, I'd say my most fond memory, it was my first cap, playing England in Twickenham. As a 27-year-old, you're in international rugby terms, to get your first cap then is kind of, it doesn't happen very often. And I've been working so hard and for so long, kind of always knowing that I could achieve it, but my time was getting smaller and smaller. So yeah, Twickenham was my fondest memory, just sitting there singing the national anthem. And then when my time was called, when I got to come on in the second half, I mean, stepping on those fields, it was a bit of a weight off my shoulders, knowing that I achieved my goal, but also one of the happiest moments of my life, knowing that something I've dreamed of since I was 16 in Kansas, transitioning from football to rugby. It was a dream come true. Even though Twickenham was only 60% full, it was a dream come true. It's hard to put into words for me, because it was everything I imagined and more.
Great, and plus, like you said, it's kind of an interesting circumstance with getting there at 27. That's it's that perseverance paid off. You're a number 9, our first number 9 that we interviewed, so kind of like a quarterback in a way. But now you're working in France. So how do you communicate with your pack? Is it in French? Is it in English? Or are you just out there slapping butts?
Yeah, it's all in French. Like I said, I've got a bit integrated in France before I made my transition to Rouen from playing in America. And so I could speak a little bit of French, but right now my French isn't where it needs to be. So I've been really trying to study and learn, and hopefully start taking courses here in French as soon as possible, so that the integration can become easier. But like I said, Rouen has been a fantastic organization, and a lot of the players make an effort to speak English, and that really helps me and the other international guys. But at the end of the day, it's our job to. Nous sommes en France, nous parlons français.
Yeah.
We're in France, so we have to speak French. So,
yeah. You need a bigger vocabulary than gauche and droite, left and right. Yeah. So you're a number 9. What are the qualities of a good number 9?
I think for me, having a quality box kick, a fast pass from the deck, and being able to organize offensively and defensively is kind of the 4 main keys for me. I have been lucky enough to play a lot of different positions in the back line, so I have a good understanding of what each position entails and kind of what the direction of the attack wants to go. And so when I made my transition to playing a 9, I had a good understanding of how to organize players and on attack and defense. And then just coming with repetition came the box kick and the learning how to have a quick pass. So for me, those are the 4 keys for a good 9.
Yeah, and you said we talked about creativity, and that rugby gave you a bit of space, a bit of creativity. Is that like a strong point in your game?
Yeah, I'd say so. Sometimes I always don't hear all the calls in French, so you got to be creative every now and then. One or two calls may go in one ear out the other. I may not catch it because of the accent. So yeah, a little bit of creativity has to come into play, which is again why a lot of us love rugby, is because we have that leash that the coaches give us to be creative, and if we see something, we can make a play.
Particularly in France, sometimes I think somebody described it with French style as like organized chaos, the French flair, where it's strikes of genius.
Yeah, that's why they're on top right now.
Yeah, exactly. So those are your strong point. What about the points you're trying to work on this season?
My number one point is learning French so I can have a better understanding of everything and be able to speak and communicate easier. So for me, it's communication is my biggest work on. I think I've come a long way in my defensive physicality over the last 3 years. It's become a real big strong suit of mine, but it's something I always keep working on and keep practicing, and then just execution on the box kick, especially under pressure. They're the weak things that have become strong suits, but they can't stay strong suits unless you keep on them. So,
well, you talked about defense. The good news is that on your coaching stuff, you happen to have Serge Betsen, who was my second interview on this podcast. I was really super. He's actually my favorite player, and I don't know. Did you know who Serge Betsen was before he came to the team?
No, I had no idea, and I did. There's one other American. Well, we have another American on the team,
right?
Sam Wuching.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who he was, and Sam kind of told me all about him. He was like, "This guy is the man. He is a French legend.
Totally.
Look up his highlights. Trust me, you'll notice when it comes to like game times, everyone's taking photos with him. We go out to eat as a team, everyone's taking photos with him. So I learned the lore that is Serge Betsen very quickly. He's a good man.
I used to annoy my wife because I'd be watching him when he's on the field, and every time he tackled somebody, I'd be like, Serge. My wife would be like, stop. And he'd have like 14, 15, 20 tackles a game, like, Serge. I really like that guy. What's he like as a coach?
Yeah, he's a great coach. He runs the defense, and he's very technical around the breakdown, has a lot of knowledge on how to be efficient in the contact area and how to really provide dominant tackles for the team and for yourselves individually. So, yeah, he has a wealth of knowledge, and he has the experience to back it up. And yeah, it's been pretty cool to be around him. As an American, I hadn't really seen very many rugby celebrities before. Most people, you walk into the airport with the USA jersey on, they're like, USA has a rugby team. It's not as popular, but when we go anywhere and Serge is with us, it's like, you see a real celebrity. People always coming up asking for pictures. So it was pretty cool for me the first time to see that.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah, he's a great dude as well. Tell him I said hi. You also talked about Sam Wuching, who I believe is from San Diego. Did you know him from before? Did you come across him in MLR?
Yeah, so Sam's from Hawaii. He went to Washington, played football there, and then he made his transition to rugby with the professional rugby with the San Diego Legion. Played with the San Diego Legion for a number of years. So I played against him, but I never knew him on a personal level. I just knew he was a Hawaii legend, like a mutual friend of ours, Lance Williams. And yeah, I met Sam at the USA team. He's a great player. He just runs hard, carries hard. He has a great skill. And that's where I met him. And when Rouen was looking for a 9 last season, and I was actually looking to play in France, my CV came across Ron's table, and yeah, Sam put in a good word for me. So I'm forever in debt to my man Sam.
He got you the job. Good deal. So you started the season. You started off with a victory as well. How are you feeling about this season?
Yeah, this season has been great. Being here for a full season is really nice, and having a good amount of time for the preseason has been really nice. And we've started out with 2 victories over Massey and Colomiers. So right now we're on the top of the table through 2 weeks, and yeah, we're looking forward to our second home game this weekend versus Van.
So you're playing the number 9. There seems to be some competition as well, because I think there's 4 number 9s, and also wanted to quickly say to one of them thank you, because he was the one who suggested that you come on this interview, because I interviewed his dad. His dad is Xavier Brissard, who wrote a book about the rugby. He wrote a book about rugby that should be coming out in English soon. So tell me a little bit about the 4 different number 9s that you guys have.
Yeah, so we have 4 9s. Adrian's is a great kid. He's young, but he has the world in front of him. He's a great player. He has great skills. He can box, kick off both feet. He's a good pass, and yeah, he's got youth on his side. So having a dad that also has written a book about rugby, I'm sure, as you can tell, he's an intelligent kid. So he's been great. Very happy that he put us in touch, and very thankful that I'm able to do this podcast with you. But we also have 2 other 9s. One's from Lav, Joris. He's a great player. And we have Flo as well. Flo is from Rouen. He played for Rouen when they made their come up throughout the divisions. He played for Bourg-en-Bresse last year, and now he's back with us. And he's been a great leader for the team. He's really brought the team together. He's one of our team leaders. And yeah, as an American, I'm a firm believer in there's something to learn from everyone, especially the little experience that I have from rugby. So to be able to go from America, where it's usually 2 scrum halves per team, to now being 4 scrum halves in one team, I'm learning a lot so quickly, and to have those 3 guys to call teammates and to learn from, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty good experience, to say the least, especially with Adrian.
Well, good. Well, listen, just a couple of quick questions to wrap things up. Besides Rouen, you've played a couple away games, I believe. Do you have a favorite stadium so far that you like to play in?
Diochan's my favorite. Obviously, in Rouen, I think our field is maybe one of the best fields I've ever played on. It is. We had our captains run there the other day, and it's top class. It is perfect. That field doesn't have a piece of grass out of place. It is an amazing field. But as far as other stadiums outside of Rouen, I thoroughly enjoyed Van. It was where I got my first start with Rouen. And yeah, just how the stadium was in the middle of the city, and it wasn't an empty seat in the house. And you look across from the side of the stands, it was all housing, and there's people hanging out outside their houses, having a beer, having a coffee, watching the game. And like I said, it was my first start, so kind of like my first USA start. Yeah, it's kind of one that you always hold special to your heart, and everything shines a bit brighter and it looks a bit cooler and holds a little bit more sentimental place in the heart. But yeah, I loved that place, and it was a good place to have a first start.
Those sound like some good memories between Twickenham and Van. Listen, last question. Favorite top 14 team? Is there somebody that you're pulling for there?
Yeah, I got to go with Toulouse. My friend David Inouye. He's been here since he was 18. He was part of the Espoirs, has worked his way up through the ranks, and now I believe he's Chief. And him being an American, I got to support him. I did have a friend who was playing for Toulon last year, Mikey. He's now with Agen, so now that he's not with Toulon, I got to go with Toulouse.
All right. Well, I know that you're supporting France, of course, in the Six Nations, right?
Yeah, of course. Like if you're living in France, if you're not supporting France, yeah, it's tough. But we got a couple English guys, a couple Irish guys, but.
Oh yeah, so you can't say too much. Is that it?
I can't say too much, especially with them speaking English. They'll be able to get on my case a bit easier.
Well, listen, it's been a real pleasure having you on the pod. I wish you the best for this upcoming season. Hoping to see you. In June 2023, there's something in Rouen called the Rouen Armada. So you have to stick around in France at least until that point in time, because there's this great moment when all these like massive ships, like these wooden sailing ships, come into the downtown of Rouen. I happened to see it one time when I was like 18 or 19. It's amazing. So maybe I'll make it there to Rouen, and if you're there, we'll catch out one of these ships. In between time, have a great season, have fun in France, meet the locals, taste the food, and enjoy this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I look forward to seeing Ron. Me, you, and Adrian will have to go catch up for dinner before the game. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me as your first halfback on the pod. And yeah, if you speak with Joe again, tell him I say hello. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you.
All right. Appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot. Donc, grand merci à Michael et aussi grand merci à Adrien Brissard et son papa, Xavier Brissard, qui nous a mis en contact. Donc, le livre dont on a parlé, Xavier était déjà passé à Pacte Pot pour parler un peu de son livre qui s'appelle L'art de la guerre du rugby, qui a un certain succès aussi. Donc, je vous encourage d'aller chercher cela. Écoutez, merci beaucoup. On retourne en français, bien sûr, en 2 semaines. On va parler de ce Coupe de Monde féminine à Nouvelle-Zélande. Ça va être un moment très sympa. Allez, à très bientôt. Bye bye.